Welcome everyone to this class on conflict resolution. We're training resident assistants on how to manage conflict within the student community in the dormitories. So I just want to go over, my name is Buffy, I just want to go over a few housekeeping things with everybody real quick. So the class is an hour. We're going to have a 5-minute break after each of the 3 objectives that we're going to be talking about today. And at the end of the class, we're going to do a question and answer, so you can save those big questions for the end of the class. And also, there will be a survey to be completed by each of you that will help me in future training sessions. Let me know how much you understood what we talked about and how much of it you will value and use going forward in your training. So let's talk about what we're going to be talking about. So hopefully at the end of this class, the participants will have the skills required as a RARD to identify and detect signs of conflict, so you can stop the conflict before it escalates. Also, the participants will understand why conflict happens, and you'll be able to resolve that conflict without having to involve faculty members. And it will also improve your communication skills so that you don't get excited or overreact or become too emotional when the conflict does arise between the students in the community. So the 3 learning objectives that you will be able to act out or use in your function as a resident assistant is to identify and detect 3 signs of conflict to prevent a negative outcome, define and paraphrase 3 specific reasons that conflict happens, and predict the effects they have on the student community. And lastly, you'll recommend 3 strategies presented in this discussion to resolve the conflict between students and illustrate how they can improve your communication. The topic that we will be talking about is the identifying and detecting 3 signs of conflict to prevent a negative outcome. So, in the handouts that you were given, there's a little synopsis of some of the signs of conflict that can arise and what you should be looking for so that you can see the conflict before it actually becomes conflict. So right now, I'd just like to talk about amongst us what your opinions are of the conflict that might arise between your students and what you could see so that you can prevent it from escalating. And some of the suggestions I talk about in the handout are irritability, shortness of answers, lashing out at other students. Has anybody in here experienced any of this stuff before?
Yes, and especially if they get, passive aggressive or, they're not sure what to expect sometimes, so they get.
So do you have an example of that you could?
Yeah, like when they go to the cafeteria, and they want to have what they want to eat, and they'll want to be first in line, so they're like, or sit at a certain table, and they'll say, hey, we always sit at this table, this is our table, can you guys just move?
Mm-hmm.
And, nobody can save tables, but they get a little territorial.
So that causes them to be irritable and negative towards the other students. So if you see that happening, you could help them work that out so that it doesn't escalate into a more territorial thing.
Right.
Right. Anybody else have any other kind of signs that they noticed in other students where they've seen the sign become more, make it the conflict escalate?
The only thing that I've been noticing lately is the kids at nighttime, they don't want to go to sleep. And it's getting late, and I'm going up and down the hallway, and I'm hearing them in their room, and I don't really know how to handle that. And actually, I'm the one who's getting irritable,
Right.
not the student, but it's me.
Yeah, but that still is something that they will feel.
Right.
They'll feel the conflict.
They do, because I knock on their doors,
Yeah.
and I knock, and I tell them to please, cut it off now, but, so I really need to know how to handle that.
And that comes into, I talk about Genesis 1:27 is a scripture about if God's created us all equal, we're to love everyone regardless of, how we behave, we love each other and not our sin or anything like that. So that, in that situation, you would need to understand where the student is coming from and why are they staying up late and why are they disrespecting the rules. And that would be something we can talk about in our third objective about how to resolve conflict.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
And, yeah, and discuss how it can improve your communication skills
Okay.
on there. But this one, we're talking about the signs. So staying up late though can cause the kids to become irritable, which will bring the conflict into their other lifestyle, other life things, other events. And it can cause them to have conflict with other students.
With other students, right.
And also in their classes, if they're not awake enough to have, pay attention in the class and
Mhm.
to fall asleep, it makes them irritable with the teacher because they're
Right.
not comprehending what's going on like that.
I don't think anyone really cares about this. We're all just here because we have to be, not because anything you're teaching is important.
Okay, so I acknowledge that, it's hard to see how some of this can be used in, personally into what you're doing. However, as you can tell from some of the other participants in the class, they're interested in what we're talking about. So I beg to differ that, it's not important. They're trying to learn something new here, so we just need to keep going. It's good to know people are behaving in problematic ways, but we need to work productively towards the goal of the objective and teaching each other. And we can learn from each other too. And this situation right here helps us to resolve conflict in a positive manner, and it will improve our communication skills. So hopefully by the end of this class, I hope you see it differently, but I respect your opinion and we'll just keep moving forward and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Does anybody else have anything to add to the participation? I'm not sure, it's hard to know examples if you haven't done this before. And I know dealing with in your own personal lives, you probably run across conflict. But hopefully some of the stuff that we'll learn here in this training session will help you to improve your communication skills and resolve the conflict before it escalates. So don't forget, 5-minute break, and then we'll have a question and answer period at the end of the complete training session.